Before Cousins tore his Achilles in Week 8 and was forced to miss the final 9 games of the season, he was downright fantastic. He had a 63 QBR, his best since the 2016 season. He was off target on just 11% of his attempts, the best since his rookie season in 2012. Graz, how much interest do we expect teams overall to have in Cousins?
Well, I think if he hits the market, there'll be a lot of interest in him. I think Minnesota right now is trying to figure out if they can keep that from happening. I think they'd like to have him back. He likes it there, and they have incentive to reach a contract extension before the end of the league year, because if they do that, they can help save some of that $28.5 million in dead money that would hit their cap if, in fact, his contract does void when the league year starts.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Graz, in terms of Minnesota's desire to keep him. I think what's interesting and what helps him is the fact that he is coming off of an injury. I believe that if Cousins were fully healthy, he might be more apt to go see what's out there in the market, and I think the market would be strong just based on what he's produced, and I think people know what they're getting with him. But I do believe really the best spot for him, and I think Minnesota knows it after going through what they went through at the quarterback position, that the best fit is probably for them to keep him as well.
Yeah, a good reminder that he's 35 years old. Let's go to Denver next, where the Broncos have to make a decision when it comes to the quarterback position this offseason. If they decide to cut Russell Wilson, it'll cost them $85 million in dead cap space. Russell Wilson played the Broncos' first 15 games of the season before he was benched for the final 2 weeks. He showed a lot of improvement over his disastrous 2022 season, where he set career lows in total QBR, completion percentage, and touchdown to interception ratio, but the 2023 numbers were still a far cry from what he put up in Seattle. Graz, what do we know about interest in Wilson should he be cut?
Yeah, I think that he's a veteran that teams would look at because he's going to be very cheap. He's got $39 million in guaranteed money next year from the Broncos, and there's offset language. So any money he makes from a new team, the Broncos would get back. And he can't make any more money unless he gets more than $39 million, which is extremely unlikely. So you can maybe sign Russell Wilson for a veteran minimum deal, assuming the Broncos do cut him, which, by the way, if they do, and they make him a post-June 1st cut, it's only $35 million dead on this year's cap.
Yeah, it's hard to see Russ going back to Denver given the way this season went. And to Dan's point, I think after Kirk Cousins is probably going to be the second most desired quarterback in free agency. As far as places where he might land, Atlanta comes to mind, Pittsburgh, the Raiders, heck, I would throw out the Patriots. And what they'll get is a quarterback who I thought did show some improvement last season over the prior year, particularly in terms of his mobility. He played largely conservative football, but avoided mistakes, occasionally pushed the ball downfield. So those 4 teams are going to have to look at that skill set and think, would that be an upgrade for our offense compared to what we had last year?
Important note by Graz there. Look for this to happen before June 1st to save a little bit of cash, or a lot of bit of cash. Okay, Chicago holds the #1 overall pick in April's NFL draft, and all signs point toward a quarterback with that selection. So that means Justin Fields, the Bears' 2021 first-round pick, could be on the move in the coming weeks. Justin Fields dislocated his thumb in Week 6 and missed the Bears' next 4 games. He was great after he returned, improving his QBR by over 10 points from his first 6 games of the year, thanks in large part to the impact he made as a rusher. Adam Schefter talked about one team that could have interest in bringing Fields in this offseason.
We know that Pittsburgh's going to go out and get some type of quarterback, whether that's Ryan Tannehill, whether that's Russell Wilson, whether that's Justin Fields. Justin Fields, I know Mike Tomlin's a big fan of Justin Fields. We'll keep that in mind during the offseason and the coming weeks. But they're not just going to leave it as Kenny Pickett, his starting job. Mike Tomlin made that very clear. So now it's which of these quarterbacks do they make a move for?
A reminder, too, that Mitch Trubisky was released yesterday, so there's a lot of room in that quarterback room potentially. Tim, you think Pittsburgh makes sense as a potential trade partner for Fields?
I do, because if Fields is going to be on the move, and you're going to have teams that are interested in improving at the quarterback position, and Kenny Pickett through 2 years has thrown 13 touchdowns and 13 picks. It has not been what they expected it to be, and so I don't think there's any shot that Pickett goes into camp as the surefire starter, which means at this point you're definitely looking to see how you can improve at the position. And I think Fields, for all the struggles in Chicago, I think there's been enough evidence that his physical skill set and some of the things he can do would give plenty of people enough optimism that you could build around that and improve. And I certainly would be in that camp.
Yeah, there would be excitement if they brought in Justin Fields. And I would argue it'd also be a good fit with the personnel they have. When the Steelers hired Arthur Smith to be their offensive coordinator, one thing that I noted was the success that they had last year in the second half of the season running the football with 2-3 tight end sets. It really reminded me of an Arthur Smith offense. So I thought that marriage made sense. And now that you have Arthur Smith running the show, you think about Justin Fields in that offense, and I go back to his year with Marcus Mariota, not this year, but the previous year. You already have proof of concept that with a dual threat quarterback, he can call an extremely dominant run game. And of course, they're joining a Pittsburgh team that's already good at running the ball. So I like the fit. I like the personnel, how it matches up. You'd still want him to progress as a passer, but I think there's a lot of upside there for Pittsburgh.
Graz, it's making me think, just in general, what do we expect the market to look like when it comes to Fields?
Yeah, it's probably going to be very specific and case by case, right? Because he is a different kind of player. And, Mina talks about needing to be more refined as a passer. I think if you're an offensive coordinator and a head coach, you look at this and say, are we the kind of team that can maximize what he does well and either minimize or find ways to improve those things that he doesn't do well? And are those things that can ever improve, or is this just the player he's going to be? So Arthur Smith in Pittsburgh makes some sense. I just think you have to be open-minded as an offensive coordinator. Now, people want to put him in Atlanta. Zach Robinson coming from Sean McVay, very well thought of in terms of a creative offensive mind. Would you put him in New England where Alex Van Pelt is the offensive coordinator? Some of these guys may not be able to adjust to what they need to do to make Justin Fields as good as he can be.